Welcome everybody to another edition of BTS Live. That stands for Behind the Scenes Live, episode 12. And I can't believe it's episode 12 already. I'm going to bring in my partner in crime here, Mark Rogers. Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing well, Marty. What's going on today?
Not too much. How was your weekend?
The weekend was good. It was good. Enjoying the somewhat spring-like temperatures, and we're going to have more this week.
Yeah, right now I'm looking on my watch. It's 58 degrees here. It was 60 before, and we're both in Connecticut. For those of you who don't know, and this is the end of February 1st. It's not supposed to be 60 degrees in Connecticut on February 1st, but we will take it. Oh, thanks for the see, I always forget the recording the blab. Just want to welcome everybody again to Behind the Scenes Live. I keep forgetting to start the record on the blab side, so I just started it as well. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate that. I think I need like a nanny or something, or a recording remind. I don't know what. I mean, it's
time for a little checklist, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, if you guys could see here what I got going on. I mean, it's pretty wacky. Anyways. So you had a good weekend. It was my brother's birthday, so we spent some time over there. Yeah, they live in Fairfield, down on the coast in Connecticut, and that's where I grew up. But that was fun. It was a nice day. Had some cake, had some good food, things like that. So yeah, it was good. Before we get started, Mark, I do want to talk about a project that you are involved with, and I'm going to show the page. And I had this all set up to show your page, but you're doing a new project with a young lady on YouTube, a sports talk show, Mark and Macy, right? On YouTube, sports oriented.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. So I was looking for a co-host. I had about 4 people offered up to me to a certain extent, and went through a number of record segments with a number of people, and Macy and I just seemed to hit it off in regards to our love for sports and our desire to get into this and do some good work. And so we just launched a YouTube channel about 6 days ago, just launched a Twitter account on the same day. So, wow, 6 days old. There's our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I finally got it. Finally got it working.
Like 10 subscribers here. And so just getting started on Twitter. Macy just sent out a poll that we're going to do each and every day, a daily poll. So really, I do a ton of hardcore sports talk, and I wanted to do something that was still hardcore, and we could still lean on some hardcore subjects. But hey, if the conversation drifted off into, we've talked about all sorts of stuff like Black Friday and Christmas and what's going on this weekend and what we like, and we've drifted off into all sorts of subjects. So it's a fun show, and we have a great time. And yeah, we are on Blab now. This is just our second week on Blab this past Thursday night. So this is going to be our big Super Bowl special this Thursday night. And so you can catch us at 6:30 on Thursday night right here on Blab. And we were doing Google Hangouts for 8 or 9 weeks. We've jumped over to Blab, and the response has been tremendous. And anybody who's worked on both platforms, obviously, if you're looking for engagement and if you're looking for interaction, this is the place to be. So we've just seen a tremendous response just in 2 weeks on Blab. And in addition to our Thursday night, we want to do some other things to kind of complement that. So Mark and Macy, you can find us on Twitter, Mark and Macy Show. You can find us on YouTube as well, Mark and Macy. And check it out.
Now, if you just search Mark and Macy, I did that earlier to find the page. It should pop up on the first page, so it's relatively easy to find. The other thing I want to highlight is our Facebook group, and that's Behind the Scenes Live. If you search Behind the Scenes Live on Facebook, we invite anybody and everybody to join our group. I think we're up to 65 members. I can't believe it. It's been tremendous. Barb, a big shout out. And thank you to Barb Tomlin, who is in the room here. She is the one who approached us, and she's been an absolute godsend to us as far as helping us and she is tremendous part of the community. If she's ever on Blab, not just in this Blab, but if you ever catch her on Blab, she's a wealth of knowledge, and she's just a terrific person. And she started this for us, and she's instrumental in getting this going and inviting people. And she has really made this a wonderful community. And then Mark and I have stepped in, and I'll tell you, the people here are great. And I see Melody Lane just requested to come in. So on the air, I'm going to approve Melody Lane to come in to the group. But everybody is welcome. It's a great group. We're starting to post some good content here. And yeah, it's great, and so I'm thrilled to have everybody there. So why don't we get into the show? And I guess, Mark, I'll kick it off, and I'm going to talk about a subject. These topics for me came from input from the Facebook group, and that's really how important this group is. The reason why we do this show is, first of all, we love this technology. It's a lot of fun for us to talk about, and we really want to do and try to spread the knowledge that we may have to help other people, because we realize, and one of the reasons why we also syndicate the Blab as well as doing a high definition recording and stream of this, is we want to treat it like a real TV show and kind of show you kind of the higher end of things. But two, especially on Blab, it's a tremendous community here, and that's how we started this whole thing. And I've met so many great people here. So we just want to really give back, and I know there's a lot of people here that are just starting with video, and I think Mark and I can help in some small way. But we want to know what you guys want to know, and both of the topics I'm going to talk about came from the group, came from input from the group. So we're going to talk about virtual cameras and capture cards. So one of the things that you notice on Blab is, besides the community, is its relative ease of use. So really, to get on Blab, all you need is a webcam, and that could be in your computer, in your laptop. Most laptops now have a camera built in, and some type of microphone. And in fact, most laptops and computers have built-in microphones. And if you want to up your game, we've talked about in the past. You've heard us talk about the Logitech C920 for a webcam. It's highly regarded and very inexpensive. It's about $60 on Amazon. You've heard us talk about microphones such as the Audio-Technica ATR 2100. Usually that mic can be found anywhere from $35 to now it's near $50. I think it's pretty popular with all these streaming services. But again, that's a very simple mic to use, very high quality sound, USB, so it's plug and play, and you're off and running. And for very little money, you could have a very high quality presence on video, on streaming video, and particularly on Blab. But what if you want to kind of step up your game and you want to use, say if maybe you have a camcorder. The camera I'm using here is a higher end camcorder. And camcorders they don't have USB out, they have HDMI out. And for those of you with HD televisions, I think most people have flat screens now and HD televisions. The input, how you connect your cable box or maybe a streaming device to your television is usually by HDMI. And in fact, I have a cable here. And I'm going to show you the ends of it. Hold on, I'm going to switch to a close-up camera. There we are. So it's probably out of focus here. But that's an HDMI cable. It has a connector that kind of looks like that. Kind of angular connector there. And it's an integrated connector, and the reason why they use this is not only is it high definition video, but also your audio, multi-channel audio, comes down on the same cable, and it's very easy to use, and makes life a lot easier when you're hooking up components and televisions and streaming devices, right? So your camcorder has that output. Many of the camcorders have HDMI out, and you can actually get the video out, and if you want, you can hook up to your TV. But what if you want to use that on Blab? How do you now? You can't. It doesn't have USB, so how do you get into Blab, right? Well, you got to use what's called a capture card, and I'm gonna again switch to my close-up camera here, and hopefully I can line this up. This is and if the camera will focus, wait, kind of doing this backwards here. This is an example of a capture card, okay? So what this does is, on this end here is the HDMI signal coming from my switcher, regular HDMI video, both video and audio embedded in the same cable, goes in one end, and then out the other end is a USB cable, right? And then I connect that to my computer in, and that's called a capture card. Now this particular capture card, and what this is doing is it's capturing the audio and video and encoding it to make it and usually it uses what's called H.264. It's an encoding scheme and digital encoding, and it puts it down this USB cable into your computer so that computer can read it, and then you can bring it into Blab. Now, normally you're able, some of these capture cards can be finicky, so sometimes they'll go right into your computer. Skype will usually work with this particular capture card. This Magwell HDMI capture card. The other thing is it's not cheap. It's $300 for this capture card, and capture cards can be rather expensive. You're talking at least a couple $100 for a capture card if you do want to use it. But once you have it, you're set to go. And the reason why I like the Magwell is it seems to work. It's the only one I've come across that seems to work with all the devices. So normally you can pop that in there. If you're using Skype, you can use it, and usually Skype will recognize this card. But for some reason, Blab does not. And sometimes you'll run into situations, so you need to create what's called a virtual camera. And I'm going to get into that in the next segment. I'm going to let Mark go with his segment, but we'll stop right there. And again, the capture card is the magic formula here as far as if you have another device. Now, capture cards will also work with, say, if you have a laptop and you want to do a screen share, and most laptops or most computers now have HDMI out, video out, right? And you can use the same thing, same type of scenario where you can have a secondary computer, you have the HDMI video out of your computer going into the capture card, then out of the capture card is a USB cable into the computer that you're using for Blab, and then you just take that as your source. So the drop down, when you go into your browser and you select your camera, it'll actually have the capture card as one of the selections, and you select that, and then you're on your air with your capture card. So there's a lot of different uses there. Any kind of HDMI video that you have can route into the capture card and be brought into another streaming platform, Blab or Skype or those type of platforms. The one caveat is if it's protected content, if it's copyright. So for example, many times when you download a movie from iTunes or from a movie service like, maybe Google Play or Amazon, those files are usually some type of copy protection on it. And HDMI is it's HCP compliant. And I'm not going to go into what that stands for, but basically what that does is that's a copy protection scheme. So the one thing that won't work is any copy protected material. But if it's regular content you own without the copy protection, it should work perfectly. So Mark, I am going to hand this over to you to talk about. Now you got, and I'm going to after Mark goes, I'm going to continue and talk about virtual cameras, kind of where the capture card leaves off, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Wirecast because that was also another question that came up in our group. But Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you have a very interesting topic to talk about, more of an off-camera topic, and more about the new show that you've launched, Mark and Macy, and I think communication, right?
Yeah, that's right. And so before I get started, since this is an interactive thing and we can definitely learn from you as well, the comments on the side right now, I've got the ability to favorite people's comments, but I need to be able to do something to reply to people's comments. So somebody gave me a tip when that happens, like several weeks ago, and I forgot what that tip was. So if you want to let me know what I can do to respond, because I don't have the option to respond. I don't have the little response reply arrow. So somebody pointed that out to me a few weeks ago when you have that issue, what you can do, and I forgot. So I'm going to talk about a lesson I learned this week. And Marty says this almost every show. He makes a comment that he is wanting to learn something new every day. And I definitely learned something this past week. And so it basically deals with working with a co-host, and it also deals with working on this platform, Blab. So I've worked in television for a number of years, both in front of the camera, behind the camera, 9 years as a sportscaster, and I've given the bio in the past. I've worked major sporting events, Final Fours, championship games. I've covered stories like NCAA investigations, murder trials, because I worked in news for 3 years. Shoot, I've been play-by-play for a number of sporting events, swim meets, parades. I've run the gamut. I'm not going to say I've seen everything, but I've seen a lot. Okay, that's traditional broadcasting. What we're doing here on Blab is different. And most of my career, I would say the entirety of my career, has been working as a solo act. Certainly had a lot of interviewees on. I've interviewed a ton of people and continue to in what I do on my YouTube channel and in other platforms. But to have a co-host, it's a different dynamic. It's a different dynamic. So I learned a big lesson this week concerning Blab, concerning working with a co-host. So this is what I encountered. So again, I'm used to traditional broadcasting. This week on Blab, we talked about it off the top, that I've got a new show that I do with Macy Golder every Thursday night here on Blab. So as this platform evolves and I get more accustomed to it, I'm learning a number of things. And one is that it can get out of control. The positive far outweighs the negative. The interaction, the back and forth, the engagement is phenomenal. I love this platform. We did our show for 8 or 9 weeks on Google Hangouts. I have had like top-notch bloggers with large Twitter followings just blast out tweets and Facebook posts to get people on Google Hangouts. It's tough to find, it's awkward, it's clumsy. Blab, it's easy, it's there. I've jumped on at times and nobody knew I was going to be on and got really good interaction with people. So the platform's awesome. What can happen though is that there was a caller in particular who kind of took over the show. And I didn't respond to that well. I'll say that in particular. And then that kind of surprises me. And I was very disappointed with myself as a professional that I didn't respond well to that situation. I also didn't know, because my co-host, Macy, and I had never been in that situation. I didn't know, and she was handling herself extremely well. And I won't go into a lot of comments that were made on the side. Nothing crude, nothing over the top, nothing that bad. But the show was going into going down a path we didn't want it to go necessarily. Again, like we talked about off the top, we're hardcore sports fans. That's what we want to push, with allowance to kind of let our personalities go and talk about our life experiences and some other things, and to soften it up at times. But a lot of people were definitely responding to her, and a lot of guys were, and I think you can follow me there in regards to taking the show in a direction we didn't want it to go. So one particular guy got on, and he was not disrespectful in any way, but he took over the show, and he was very much enjoying his time with Macy in sports debate. And it was good to a certain degree, but I'm sitting there thinking, this is our show, and this is what I expect our show to be. And I haven't had that conversation with Macy to understand what she wants this to be. So you can jump on Blab, and I'm sure most of you have a ton more experience of observing other Blabs that are just free-for-alls. And if that's what you want your show to be, that's great, because a lot of people respond to that. Just free-for-alls, just go crazy, go nuts. I want to hit it somewhere in the middle. I want it to still be a professional show and present it that way. But still, I want to have a lot of fun, and I want to have debate, and I want it to be loose, but it can't be out of control. And so I wasn't understanding, because Macy and I hadn't been brought to that situation before, where she was with that. So that was one of the reasons I let it go. And then had the follow-up conversation with her afterwards to get a better understanding of what is this show and how much allowance are we going to give to people who call in and comment. And we came to a great understanding afterwards that we're on the same page in regards to what parameters we're going to place around the engagement, that we want engagement, we want great response, but we need to put parameters around it. We need to put it under control. I talked to a number of people who are TV and internet savvy people who have been in production, are now engaged in social media. And they said, I'm going to watch that show because I want to hear from you and Macy. I love the interaction with the callers, the engagement, but you need to put parameters around it, make it limited, have a feel for when it's dying or who may be a little bit better caller that you can keep on the line a little bit longer. So it was a great learning lesson from me because we've only done this for about 10 weeks and we've had great conversations. We've been on the same page the entire time. And I think Marty can relate to this because I made this comment to him the other day that in the business we used to be in at ESPN and I'm still in, we run into issues on the air. And we were in management over operators who are running networks. And we would put all sorts of simulation type assignments in front of them and training to try to safeguard against issues on air and how to recover from those issues. And all that is well and good. It can be talked through, it can be trained, it can be simulated, but until you experience it, then you get a real feel for how you handle it. So interaction with a co-host.
Yeah, I'm just going to interject something real quick, Mark. I think the live aspect is, and I think you're highlighting very, very well. I think this is where, especially people new to video, and we come from, well, you're still there. ESPN is primarily a live platform and live network. The bread and butter is really live events and non-scripted. And a lot of people just getting into producing video, before live streaming video, as I think 2015 is kind of culmination of the technology, the access, the bandwidth, the simplicity, all kind of has come together a little bit more this past year than in previous years. But YouTube was first, and producing video ahead of time or edited video is a whole different animal versus live. And like I think, and you can continue certainly talking about that, but I think what you're talking about is gold here because it's a whole different realm. And once it goes out, once you push that button, you're live, and the control factor is a lot less as far as how you handle it. And the tips you're giving are beautiful. I'll let you go here, but I just wanted to inject that it's so different from what people may be used to, and now people have the opportunity to go live so easily, and it's just a completely different thing here.
Yeah, so I think the lesson is twofold. If you're co-hosting a show, be understanding if one person's basically the host and the other person is a co-host in the true sense of the form of the word and the term in regards to somebody's a host and they're in charge of the show, they're in charge of the brand, they're the person who's in charge and the other person's a co-host? Or is this a completely equal, even joint venture? And then you have some things to work through. You need to have discussions, and you need to try to open up your mind and knock down and get out of the box of anything that could possibly happen that you could be faced with, not just while you're communicating live, but also regarding all your social media platforms, how you're going to who you're going to follow on Twitter. What's your follow strategy on Twitter? You go from kind of the elitist model on one end that I don't follow anyone, they all follow me, which isn't the best way to go, or the complete opposite end of the spectrum where you say, I follow everybody and I'm just trying to gain followers. I think somewhere in the middle, and we can talk about that on another show, is a great place to be as well. So the concept of having a co-host and how you deal with all those issues, and a lot of them you're not going to think about them until you experience, and it's nice to see Macy jumped on here with us. A lot of those you're not going to think about, but you should do your best to try to hit those issues before you actually face them in reality and have an understanding of where you stand, because hey, it's a dynamic of a relationship, and doing what's best for the show, the brand, and for each other, and understanding that. And then also the second part of the little lesson I learned was the blab dynamic and how to better cope with it and use it to our benefit and in the best way possible. So it's a great platform. we're talking to professionals, I think, across the board, and Marty and I speak to that just about every week, that most of you are professionals, want to put a professional brand out there. So we're not just talking to people that jump on Blab and just go crazy and just do whatever. We're talking to people that want to possibly have fun, depending on your subject topic, want to have fun, but at the same time, you want to put kind of parameters around it. You want to present yourself in the best possible way. And your callers are almost an extension of your content. And so that's a reflection upon you, how you deal with the callers and what you allow to be on your Blab as well. I'm done.
Words of wisdom, for sure, and that comes from experience, and we talked about this in previous Blabs. I think, not only, well, there's two parts to this. I always say 95% of the work you never see because it's all pre-production, it's all planning and making sure you're prepared to go on air and providing value for whatever you're doing, whether it's a Blab or whether it's a network level show. And then two, and I want to reiterate Barb has been making some tremendous comments here, and she basically, and I'll paraphrase, I'm basically talking about the importance of kind of a team approach to producing high quality shows. And Mark and I come from the network world where you have $1 million control rooms, and in that environment it's a team of people that put on a show, and everyone has one job to do. And then it's almost like, since we're in Super Bowl season, it's almost like a football team. And if they're not all working together, then the show doesn't get produced well and really doesn't get on the air, and you have holes in the production, or you've heard the expression, the chain's only as strong as the weakest link. And that's very, very true in television. And you can also bring that down to a Blab, where it's certainly not, you're not dealing in $1 million control room, but it's the same principles that are involved, especially folks that are looking to do professional business like programming or content. Barb brings up that it's a team approach, and it's difficult. And I've seen people, and it's great. You can not only handle your content, be on screen, talk to your audience, right? Look at the comments, manage those. If you have other content, say if you're doing enhanced screen sharing or a little bit more enhanced content like we're providing, and I'm switching the show here, so I try to set up where I have control panels in front of me and trying to do that, and you're shifting your attention. Yeah, that's why you have a control room with 18 different people, and they're all each doing a particular job. And the same thing for Blab. I mean, I think Barb brought up the point about having a co-host. So if you want to do a regular show, it's very difficult to do it on your own. Having that help, I mean, thank God we have Barb Tomlin in this room here, as part of our team, and then Mark and I are on camera, and we're switching it, and Barb is just doing tremendous work in the comments, and especially when we're trying to do a HD version of our show and stream it live. And then what I do is I take the recording now and I post it on YouTube, and I'm working to try to put a playlist together and all that stuff. But there's a method to the madness here, and then syndicating to a platform like Blab, which is really different, and different video formats, and the technicals are different, but again, the community is so strong here that we need to do this. We need to find a way to do both, so you need that team approach, and that's so important. So I think Barb, and that's, again, we could talk about that in our Facebook group, helping people, kind of pairing people up. If people want to start a show and they may need a co-host, or they may need someone to kind of produce in the comments, or some help, I mean, we can get together on that. So anyways, let me before I go on to my topic here, let me just take a look at what's going on in the comment. Great show. Thank you very much, Home Inspect St. Louis. Great resource. That's exactly what our object here is. So just to continue what I was talking about here about the capture cards. So we got through where we were talking about, and I'll show you again, the capture card here. This is a Magwell HDMI, USB capture card, HDMI Magwell card. And basically, again, we've taken the HDMI video and audio combined in one cable, bringing it into this capture card, and basically what this capture card does is encode the video to a streamable format like H.264, and then it brings it out, and a USB connection into your computer. So that's the capture card. Now, I can tell you, I've had all kinds of problems with this capture card being recognized on Blab, or the formatting different or whatever. So what do you do there? And one of the other questions that came up in our Facebook group was how do you work with a virtual camera in Wirecast? Okay, so I'm going to switch to my other screen here. There we go. And you get that little effect there where it's that infinity effect. But I'm going to try to, if you bear with me, I'm going to try to zero in on this menu here. I need to do this kind of in real time here. So let me zoom in. Hold on one second. And that's kind of the cool thing about the TriCaster. I'm going to move this down. So you're kind of seeing this as I go. And I'm going to zoom into the menu. So just forgive me here while I set this up, so I can show you what this is. And we had, again, this came up as a, hopefully you guys can see that. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay. So this is Wirecast, okay? And basically what this is this is a software switching program. And this is not a low-end program. This is a higher-end program. And what this enables you to do is switch multiple sources. So as long as you have multiple capture cards, you can switch multiple sources, whether that's cameras, whether that's maybe outputs of computers, whether that's additional audio, whether that's pre-recorded video you might have stored on your computer that you want to play as part of your show. So that's what Wirecast is. It's basically a software switcher. The other thing that it does is it creates virtual cameras. And I'm going to go to this output here, and you'll see down here virtual camera out. So for that question in the comments, what you're going to want to do is once you set up your shots in Wirecast, and again, this is probably a topic for another show if it's something that you guys want us to cover in more detail, and perhaps we can get on, Stephen Haywood, who's a friend of mine on Blab, who is merely my inspiration to do all this. He is a Wirecast expert. So perhaps maybe either I can have him on the show, or I can do a pre-recorded interview with him and I'll make it part of the show. But he really knows Wirecast in and out. But anyways, what the beauty about Wirecast is it creates virtual cameras. So if you go to the output, you go down here to virtual camera. Now, if I was to stop this, you wouldn't see it on Blab. The Blab feed would stop. But basically what this stop here is you can stop and start the virtual camera. So basically whatever is going out on the output, this starts, and basically this is encoding the frame. And the reason why you would use a virtual camera in Wirecast is you can resize the video. So you'll notice on my video shot, if I go to my main shot here, my shot is letterboxed. So it's not filling the entire screen. So, oh, Mark, did you lose audio? Can you hear me, Mark? I think Mark might not be able to hear me. Hold on one second. Mark, can you hear me? How about now, Mark?
Oh, you're back.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Mark, for some reason my Hangout's muted and Mark couldn't hear me. Anyways. So the reason why you'd have a virtual camera in Wirecast is you can resize the video. So I have my video in letterbox. That's because my camera is shooting 16:9. So you can see the full graphic, full video of what the camera is capturing. It also comes in handy when I switch over to my computer. And you can see the full computer here, and that's also very important. So if I was to go back and reset this, you can see the full screen, versus if I was to bring this in 4:3, you wouldn't be able to see the full screen. So it makes it very easy to see web browsers. So if I'm switching here and I'm showing the Facebook group, there you can see the Facebook group. It makes it very easy to see. And if I make this full screen, there you go. So that's why you'd want to use a virtual camera. So hopefully that answers the question of that individual in the Facebook group as far as why you use a virtual camera and why it's important. And then once it's in a virtual camera, pretty much any application is going to be able to recognize it, whether it's Skype, Blab, Appear.in. There are several different WebRTC based, video chatting. Any video chat service is going to be able to recognize a virtual camera. And so when you go to your browser and you're selecting your webcam, it'll show up as a selection in the video section. And you just select that particular virtual camera. So in Wirecast case, it'll say Wirecast virtual camera. Select that, and then select your audio source. Maybe that's your built-in microphone, and you're ready to go. And then it just takes whatever's going through that virtual camera. And again, the beauty about that is you can operate it as a switcher. So if you can get kind of fancy. So if you have multiple cameras, multiple capture cards, different video sources, you can line all that up in Wirecast, switch it, and then you're taking the same source to Blab the whole time. And it's whatever you're taking, it shows up in the window. So that might be a future topic for a future show, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the virtual camera is like. So Angel Hill asks a question, and I'm just going to bring it into the Blab here. For the folks on the HD stream, you can't see it, but Angel Hill asks, you likely already had told us, but what microphone are you using, Marty? Okay, that's a good question, Angel. I am using a Heil PR40 microphone, and maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll get into. I'll try to make this brief. We'll get into this a little bit, but it's a dynamic microphone. It is a $325 microphone in most places. It's a lot of podcasters use this microphone because it's great sounding. It's also great in non-studio environments. So it's a dynamic microphone, and so it rejects a lot of noise back and forth. And I've done this demo in the past, but I'll do it again here. The reason why you'd want it is it's very directional. Not only is it dynamic versus a condenser, and these are terms you may have heard, but it's also cardioid pickup. Cardioid meaning it's directional. It's just picking up right in front of the microphone, versus an omnidirectional, which picks up all around the mic. And I'll kind of demo it here, where if I go off axis and I go here, you're probably not hearing me very well over here, but I'm talking the same volume. Talking the same volume here, and then here you're not hearing me here. And again, I'm not in a studio environment, and what's great about that is if there's noises in the back. In fact, I will say that you notice I'm not using headphones. That's because all my audio, all my speakers are in back of the microphone, so it's not being picked up. So when I'm talking to Mark on the other camera, I have a speaker just hooked up to Hangouts, and he's hearing me and I'm hearing him, but you're not hearing him through this microphone.
And Marty, as soon as you finish with that question, I actually have an extension on that question, because I've got a question of my own. Because what is the difference between the mic you just described, the Heil
PR40?
There you go. And what you gave me originally, which looks very similar, and I believe was in the same classification. It was the same make. It was the same brand. And then you suggested I switch to this Shure mic.
Well, what did I give you before that?
It was a lower grade version of what you're using.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Well, the Shure mic, because of the price, basically, and it's very durable. So Mark is using the SM48 Shure microphone. Those mics, and I vow every time I have 4 of these mics, and I vow every time to have it within arm's reach, and I don't. But the SM48 is probably, you can pick one up for probably $35-40 at most, maybe 50 at most. And reason why I love that microphone, what Mark's using, is it's a very durable mic. It's been around for like 50 years. If you watch any musical performances, they're probably using the SM58, which is a $100 microphone, very durable. But those Shure microphones, the SM48 and 58, they're built like tanks. And that's why a lot of stage performers use them, because they take a beating and they're great on location. And also they're dynamic and they're cardioid. So the same pickup pattern and the same type of capsule in this mic as in Mark's mic. It's just the price difference. This mic is a little bit, again, you're not going to hear it on Blab. You'll hear it if you're doing voiceover or recording. The PR40 is one of the standard microphones. I think it's a great value. You can get microphones that cost thousands of dollars, so this is not certainly the be-all, end-all of microphones. But I think you got to match up to what your needs are. And the other thing with microphones is that it's almost like shoes. You got to kind of fit the microphone to the person. Mark likes my analogies, I think. So I think he muted himself, so I'm gonna let him sort that out. But anyways, just to get back to technology fail, no kidding. But get back to the microphones. To answer Mark's question, Mark has a SM48 microphone. It's about $50 microphone. On Blab, you're probably not gonna hear. All right. Anyways, just to finish up the discussion, so Mark has an SM48 Shure microphone. This is a Heil PR40, $325 microphone versus a $50 microphone. On Blab, not much of a difference. So what I would recommend, folks, is if you're just doing Blabs, the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 is a great value. And again, the reason why I say that is that not only is it an XLR microphone, which is a professional connection, meaning that you can connect it to a switcher or a mixer, but also it's a USB out, has a SoundCloud out. So the ATR 2100, I would recommend that because, again, it's great for Blab because it's very simple. You can hook up via USB. And then if you do get a mixer and want to get fancier, you can always hook it up via an XLR connection and do it that way. Mark, can you hear me? So right now, just for the folks on the HD stream, and we're gonna conclude this and we're gonna continue on Blab for a little bit. Mark's having massive technology issues here, so my partner in crime cannot get on the main show here. But I don't have things wired up, so I can't bring him into the HD feed, unfortunately. And that's something that I think what we're gonna do, and I'm announcing it here. You got it, Angel. Anytime. What I'm announcing here is I'm gonna figure out a way to use Blab, since it seems like Mark has much better luck with Blab. And what I'm going to use is try to figure out a way to use Blab to bring people into the HD stream and do it that way. I don't know. I'm at a loss. What are you going to do, right? So anyways, let me wrap this. Mark's having a good I know. Mark's having a good time here. So let me go and pump the Facebook page here one more time. This is our Facebook page. Behind the Scenes Live. If you go on Facebook and search Behind the Scenes Live, we welcome everybody to come in and be a member. Barb Tomlin, big time shout out to Barb for starting this and for approaching us and say, why don't you guys start a Facebook page? It would be a great idea. And Barb goes, and I said, you know what? That's a great idea. I didn't even think of that, and it's a tremendous community developing over here, and we just love it. And we get our show ideas from you guys, and so we want to do these shows and provide information that's going to be helpful to you guys and what things you want to know. And again, hopefully we're getting better with this and we're providing information that is helpful to you guys. So anyway, so that's our Facebook page. I also want to pump Mark's show, Mark and Macy. You can find Mark and Macy on YouTube. They are, Mark, you're like 10 shows in, 12 shows in, something like that. Okay, so 10 shows in. They got great chemistry. They talk sports, lifestyle, whatever comes up. They are starting to do their shows on blab.im, so look them up. And Mark, you're doing this show on what day? You have a regular time now? Okay, so 6:30, 6:45, 6:30 on Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays is where you want to be. You want to be on YouTube, Mark and Macy. Not on YouTube, I'm sorry, on Blab. 6:30, and then they have their. Very good. Well, with all the technical difficulties, again, you're seeing this is what you get when you try to be ambitious here. So we are going to figure this out. For some reason, I don't know what's going on Mark's side, but maybe what we'll do, Mark, is we'll figure out a way to use Blab, and I'll do the 2-box, taking the Blab shot. I can do this, believe it or not. I can composite the shots, so we might need to do that and show you guys how you can use Blab in the same Blab in the same show as Blab. It's going to be kind of a weird like Inception type of setup, I think. But anyways, let me wrap this up, guys. Thanks for tuning in on the HD stream. We are going to continue the discussion on Blab for bonus content for a little while at least. And we invite you to come back. We are here every Monday streaming live on btslive.com in HD, and also on blab.im every Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern. That is 11 a.m. Pacific. And next week will be Lucky 13 for our episode. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And let me just set up my my going away shot. And we will see you again next week, everyone. Thanks, and see you on Monday.